Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining the Give and Go podcast. Going to be wrapping up some more soccer interviews this week before we transition to basketball. Uh, Final top 10 came out yesterday. All freshmen came out today, and probably early next week, all shore team will come out, and then we'll be done. Going to try to get all the sectional coaches and Group Point Borough, Mike over Point Borough on to talk about their season. So tonight. I have Sean Bayha from Jackson Memorial joining us, fresh off the Central Jersey Group 4 championship. I think the first one since 2010, correct?
Yes.
So, Coach, congratulations and thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, uh, slow start for Jackson. I know a lot of injuries midway through the season. Navigating that. So we'll talk about how you navigated all those injuries. And then a very strong run right when it matters most to win the Central Jersey Group 4. And then, unfortunately, you run into that buzzsaw Shawnee, who has one of the most elite programs in the state. So, first, congratulations. And, my first question is going to be, the team started off 0-3. What was your message to the girls, after a little bit of a slow start?
Well, thank you. Yeah, we did start off 0-3. We had some really low points during the season, and I would say the game that you were at was one of the lowest points. We lost to
Contour
Contour
North.
North,
Yeah.
where we were pretty much just from whistle to whistle dominated. We lost 3-0, and I just remember the post game environment wasn't the most pleasant environment to be in. The talk, but I don't remember everything we said at the end of that talk, but I do remember one thing that resonated with me was, we're going to find out who's in the boat with us going forward, because right now we're not all rowing in the same direction. And the only way we're going to get to where we need to go is we need to row in the same direction. And we're going to quickly find out who is or is not in the boat. And I think that was pretty much the message that we had from there. And to their credit, they stayed in the boat. They overcame, as much adversity as I've ever seen this season. At one point in time, we had lost 5 starters. We had a 6th starter who either was out or on a minutes restriction. Throw in the fact that 4 different players or coaches lost family members during the course of the season. And there was just a lot going on, for us to all stick together and be able to accomplish this was really special.
I would see on the Jackson, the team Instagram, it seemed like this team was really close bonded. They would have, parties, pasta parties at night, and which, I say this almost every podcast, give me, a good team that has strong bonds compared to a super team that argues all the time on the field. I'll take the good team that, that family atmosphere every day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely were close knit. Started with the seniors. We had, we didn't have a lot of seniors. We only had 3, but those 3 did yeoman's work in terms of leadership. And then they were very welcoming to the underclassmen. And they did make it like a family environment where that chemistry off the field definitely showed up on the field.
It seemed like a big turnaround, season was the Brick Memorial game. It was 0-0 tie, but going into that game, you guys dropped your first 3, so Brick probably thought they're going to be favorites, but you had your senior goal, Gianna really stepped up that game. Even from Billy said how amazing she was in that game, and she had a really excellent season, all shore season. Just talk about Gianna, how she really stepped up her senior year.
Gianna's journey is it's just so special. I wish could be like a great story where she came in as a freshman, had 4 tremendous years, and is going off to college. And it wasn't that. It was a season. Her career has been peaks and valleys, and the valleys that she experienced in her high school career, they're really low. And I guess as time has gone on, I've gotten more patient. And we stuck with Gianna through those lows because we always knew just how special Gianna could be. You knew the talent that was inside Gianna. It was just, how do we unlock that talent? How do we get that on the field that we see in practice? And honestly, that was the Brick Memorial game. She came into that game. There was some things going on with her family. A family member was undergoing some medical procedures, and I think that kind of preoccupied her thought process. And for that game, she finally was not in her own head, but just maybe focused on that. And she just went out and played relaxed. And she had a hell of a game. And she single-handedly kept us in that game. She made two amazing saves on free kicks that, either one of them should have went in the net and they didn't. She kept them from going into the net. And from that game on, the team saw how well she played. She saw how well she played. And we believed, even though we struggled to score all year, that if we could just find a way to score one goal, we were going to win because nothing was going in the net against us. And that was the belief from Gianna in the back line. And, she used that as a springboard, and she went on to have an amazing season, an all-short type season.
Yeah, and game obviously that stood out. You always say if a team goes to a shootout, your goalie saves one, you're in good spirit, good shape. And she made three consecutive saves in the shootout against Brick Memorial. The second save made, I thought she looked like Superwoman, and you could just tell she was on another level, towards the tail end of that season.
Yeah, amazing. The game she had against Brick Memorial is amazing. I would say the game she had from Brick Memorial, the impetus for that was really a year coming. The year before that, we had lost to Steiner in like a brutal game where we dominated Steiner from whistle to whistle. We gave up one shot, it went in. And when that game was over, it was a long bus ride home from Steiner. And a lot of that bus ride was me in self-reflection. I was just kicking myself that, even though we had, Chelsea and we had Renee and we had Morgan, we had some really talented seniors, we didn't really change it up our attack during the game. And, inside I was like, maybe we should put somebody else in the game just to change the flow of the game. And I kind of talked myself out of that. And, all bus ride home, I'm like, just follow your gut from going forward. And I remember that a year later, we get the Brick Memorial, and we're doing PKs in practice, and Gianna's just nailing them in practice. And I think she's just thinking she's taking PKs to take a break from goal and just, mess around a little bit. I'm looking at her, I'm like, she can really take a PK. And we had 5 field players set up for that Brick Memorial game.
Mm-hmm.
We knew, honestly, our best bet at beating Brick Memorial was going 100 minutes with them and getting the PKs. Just for us to get the PKs, though, the job Alexa Berkeley did in that game, marking Maggie up top, she did an amazing job helping us get the PKs, and she was our 5th shooter, Alexa. And I think the physical toll that game took on her, when we got to the sidelines and we're picking out the shooters, I looked at Alexa and she looked mentally spent, physically spent. And I just remember back to that Steiner game, I'm like, just follow your gut. I'm like, Alexa, you got us here, but your sister's going to take the PK. And I'm sure at that point when the parents saw Gianna go out there for the PK, they probably thought I was crazy, which is probably not the first time. But we had total faith in her just from what she'd done in practice that she was going to come through.
Yeah, and she got the game clinching PK. You're seeing that a little more because I know Marlboro, they always have their goalie take one of the PKs too, and goalies seem to know, they know where to put the ball. It seems to in PKs because they're in that net. You brought up the defense did a phenomenal job against Brook Memorial because they were attacking. But to me, it seems like every year Jackson Memorial's defense is top notch. They're always, you could always rely on them to keep you in the game. Is that something you work on? Try to work from the back forward. Strong defense and work that way.
I think we just try and tailor our approach based off the personnel we have.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, I think with the amount of talent we lost, with like I said, Chelsea, Renee, Morgan, we lost a good amount of our attack. And I was going to be replaced by a lot of youth and girls that hadn't had a lot of minutes last year on varsity. So we're going to lean on the part of our team that was our strength, which was Gianna in goal, which we believe that she was capable of being like an all-short type goalie. And then our back line led by our captain, Sammy Ifantis. She does a great job with the back line. I can't talk enough about the job Harmony Glover did for us, the growth that she did. She might have played 20 minutes all season long as a freshman for us. And then this year, she never left the field, and she became our sweeper. And, honestly, she could honestly be the MVP of our team for what she did for us in the back. And then our outside backs with Alexa Berkeley, Abby Wisniewski, Ashley Alou, Victoria Tanderi, they all did a great job. And that was pretty much the strength of our team. So we knew as we were going through this offensive struggle and all of our injuries, primarily were in the midfield and forward, we were just trying to find different ways to score through the course of the year. But we always knew we could hang our hat on the fact that, we're going to be in every game. It may not be pretty. The other team may dominate possession, but all we need is to find a way to punch one in because really our back line and our goalie, are going to shut it down.
You brought up graduated, key pieces, a very young team you had. Do you think the young team that didn't have a lot of experience from last season might be one of the reasons the team started a little slow this season?
No, I would probably say the team probably started a little slow because of bad coaching decisions. Probably, I would say that having an inexperienced team with only three seniors back, uh, I probably could have been a little bit more a little bit had a little bit more foresight in terms of the schedule that was given to us. We opened the season with St. John Vianney, which we didn't have to play them at a non-conference schedule. And then the next game, we were supposed to play back-to-back with Wall.
Hmm.
All right, which obviously Wall's a tremendous team. So I think youth or not youth, that's a tough way to
Yeah.
open the season. And then the Wall game just basically ripped our hearts out because we fell behind 1-0, battled back the entire game,
Mhm.
score one of the best goals we have all season with Madison Faglione finding Alexa Berkeley to tie the game at 1. We got a corner kick with 90 seconds left. We push up to win the game. No one's on the other end of the corner kick because all season long, other than the finals, we struggled on executing on corners. Not so much
Yeah.
the service, but just the finishing part of
Sure.
it. Wall ends up getting the ball, and they transition the length of the field in 90 seconds, and they score, which pretty much just ripped our hearts out in
Yeah.
that moment. So I wouldn't say it's the youth that we had because I can't say enough about the young players that we had on the field. Ella Cook, Zaya Gould, girls like that were just out there playing their first varsity minutes. They were out there battling like crazy. I would just say the schedule, it was a tough hill to climb. And I think that was reflected by the fact that we finished under 500, but we still got the number 3 seed
Yeah.
in our state bracket. It was basically because of our strength of schedule.
You brought up Ella Cook. She finished with 9 goals. She had 6 of them in the sectional tournament. Is that something you're hoping she builds on going into next season, that she ended the season so strong?
Oh my God, Ella Cook is such a special player. I mean, if you don't like coaching Ella Cook, you don't like coaching. All right. She goes out there, she gives you everything that she has. And, last year she was a freshman who played freshman JV, and she probably scored like 25 something goals between the two levels, which again, I know it's lower level, but that's a heck of a lot of goals to score.
Yeah.
And, one of my best coaching decisions probably regrettably was to send her home instead of bringing her with us to the state tournament. I think she probably could have helped us in retrospect, last year. So this year she comes back. All she does in the summer is work her tail off. And her reward for working her tail off was I put her on the bench for the first week of the season. She barely played. We had another girl playing over her. Some situations developed where that girl left the team. Ella got a shot, and that's all Ella really never needed was a shot. And once she got a shot, she never left the field. And you could just see how valuable she is. She plays her heart out. She battles like crazy on the field. She finds a way to find spaces and crevices on the field, to execute. She's so smart on the field. Well, and I think next year, like you said, I think next year she can have a really special season.
And another sophomore, you brought up, Harmony, and to me she seems like a player that leaves it all out on the field. The Brick Memorial game again. She was all over the place too. Just talk about her a little more because, like you said, she never came off the field, and she just looks like such a competitor when she's out there.
She is. Harmony, you're going to get 100% every time she's on the field. She's super strong, but she's also really fast. She's very heady as well. But I think she's a very mature sophomore, especially in the time that we live in. Last year as a freshman, she wasn't getting the minutes that, maybe she had hoped in the beginning of the season. She never complained about them, never a parent email or whatever. Instead, she came to me, said, "Can we have a conversation?" And she's like, "Look, do you think I can go play JV? Because I think, the biggest thing about me is my confidence. And right now, the role that you have me in, I'm playing 10 minutes a match. I got to go out there. If I make any kind of mistake, I know it's going to cost the team." Very, very mature conversation she's talking to me about. And I'm like, you know what? Harmony, you are right. So why don't we send you down to JV? You're going to play the entire JV match. You'll continue to practice with us. And next year, you're going to be a bigger part of the team. And, she took that to heart. She worked her tail off in the off season. I don't think there's anyone who hit the weight room harder than Harmony. If you see her, she's really, she's a strong girl.
She looked
You
real good.
know, she plays on a really good travel program. They went to Sweden during the summer as part of that like Euro Cup that they're in. I don't know if you're familiar with that at all for
Yeah,
travel. All right. She was part of that team, and she came back, and you could just see in the summer league that we played at Capelli, game after game after game, you could just see that she was so much more confident than she was last year. And my confidence in grew in her as I saw her play better and better to the point where, she became our sweeper and, leader in the back, really.
how big is that when a player, has the first of all, it could be nerve-wracking, but the player has the courage to go up to, their coach, knowing, not having the confidence and knowing that, where they are, because I know a lot of players, you know, sometimes whether it's parents influence, you got to be on varsity or whatever, but how big is that? And that, just, to me, one, she's looking out for what's best for the team and her, and, to get better.
Yeah, it was just a great sign of maturity, and it's just a lost art of communication in the world we live in.
Hmm.
That ability just to speak to someone clearly, to advocate for yourself instead of having your parents do it for you. So I was just super proud of her for doing that. And, her point that she made, we had Alyssa Tapia last year, who was a senior, who was coming back off an ACL injury. She was going to be our starter at outside back, but we knew she couldn't go the whole match. And I thought in my mind, this is a great spot to get Harmony in for like 10 minutes a match. But I'm
Hmm.
not a 15-year-old girl who's never come off the bench before. And that's, even though I think in my mind, that's great coaching. I'm not 15 years old having to get in the mindset going from playing to now coming off the bench. And I know if I make any kind of mistake, I'm back on the bench. And I'm only going to play for a handful of minutes anyway. So, it's difficult, and as I've gotten older, I've kind of thought more about that and tried to, put girls in better positions to give them the best chance to be successful.
Yeah, and when I had Jordan Keenan on last year, talking about mental health with the college level, and she said it perfect. People forget that we're teenagers, still we're still growing up too, so
Yeah.
that does speak volumes of her, maturity and
But
definitely a leader.
I would say we did some things differently this year because of that. And the case in point would be the last week of the state tournament before it closed. We had just lost to Rumson in the short conference tournament.
Hmm.
And we were always like the 2 seed in the state bracket at that point for the longest of time, even though we weren't winning.
Uh-huh.
We hung around the 2 seed. And Brick Memorial had just beaten Trinity the same day in the short conference. So they leapfrogged us. And I knew we couldn't fall any further than 3. But I knew we would have to catch Brick Memorial. We were going to have to play somebody that week and beat them. So I bring the team in. We're having a meeting, and generally I wouldn't involve the team. I would just make my own decision. But I
Hmm.
brought the team in. I'm like, look, we can either rest, sit here, and watch Brick Memorial B2, but try and get healthy, or we can go out, find someone to play, try and beat them, and try and leapfrog them. And everyone in the room is like, let's get healthy. And
Okay.
I'm like, all right. And I'm like, all right, but that means that if everything plays out, we're gonna have to go to Brick Memorial. And they're like, that's fine, we'll just go to Brick Memorial. So like, all right. So they left the room. And then when they left the room, I'm like, Jesus, who the hell wants to go to Brick Memorial? Like, but they're kids. So
Yeah.
we let them make that decision. And obviously, it worked out for the best for us.
Yeah. I want to talk about you a lot of injuries. How did you navigate that throughout the season, especially, when you had five out at once?
Yeah, it was just one after the other after the other. We lost basically our entire midfield. We lost Kushnit Singh on September 21st against Central Regional. The following week on Senior Day, we lost Madison Fagler. The following week, we lost Sammy Ifantis against Tomsboro South. Then Julie Ifantis gets hurt at RBC. All right, and then Faith Maroney gets hurt at Princeton. So it's just one after the other. And I don't think I navigated it. I think the players navigated it. We talk about being a family. Everyone's here for a particular reason. We don't need just 11. We need everyone out here. You never know when your name is going to be called. when your opportunity is going to come. And this year, opportunities came in bunches for a bunch of underclassmen to step up and play more minutes than maybe they were projected to play in the beginning. And the more they played, the better they played. So like that underclassmen group that played, like Victoria Tandari, I mentioned Brooke Lavezzo, Ella Cook was one of those who got an opportunity to play as well. Zaya Gould, Maddie Guerrero, on and on. These girls got an opportunity to play, and they did really well with the opportunity that they had, such that when the girls who were injured slowly started to come back, we were a better soccer team then than we were when we were fully healthy.
Now, a lot of underclassmen and there's some good eighth graders coming up next year. What does it say, about the state, of the Jackson program, the youth program that a lot of young kids and the talent that's coming in, coming into the high school and that's already there?
Yeah, I would say that we followed an unusual path this year. We won a sectional title, but we skipped a lot of steps along the way that most teams accomplish. So I would say we're just kind of scratching the surface of what we can do in the future. We bring back the entire roster but three. Everyone, has gotten starting experience, a lot of playing time experience. One of the spots we have to replace is goalie, and we feel really good in that with what we have. And then on top of that, like you said, we have a really good JV team that's been our feeder system for a long time. And we have a really excellent eighth grade class that's coming in as well. So the future of Jackson soccer is really bright. And, what they do at the younger levels with the soccer program is very good. And, it pays benefits for us when they get older.
Now, the girls that, the underclassmen there, now that they got the taste of winning, that you think they're going to come out even hungrier next year. They want to get back and, do back to back.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I think, we're that asterisk team that, like they won the state sectional title, right? Like we skipped a lot of steps along the way. We're not Point Borough. We didn't win A South. We didn't make it to the short conference finals. We didn't dominate all season long, and be in the top 10 of the, rankings all year or whatever. We've been on the outside looking in. And, everything came together for us to make that run at the end. But we know that we have a really bright future ahead of us. And, we're not going to be resting on our laurels or just, sitting and enjoying the championship that we had. We have a lot to still accomplish, in both my eyes and probably the eyes of people outside the program as well. We have a lot to accomplish. Our division is super tough. It's only going to get tougher again next year. We need to be more competitive in our division than we were this year. We definitely want to be more competitive in the short conference tournament. And these are goals that we can accomplish, based on the talent we have, in the program, and that's going to be coming into the program.
I was going to, bring that up. Do you think playing in such a hard, you have Point Borough who won their group, Central Regional who made it to their sectional final. You think playing those teams helped prepare for the postseason run that you had?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It forces you to raise your level of play. Even in the losses, even when we lost to Central Regional and Point Borough, kind of lopsided, we played with them, we battled with them, we competed with them. That level of play makes you better when you get into the state tournament. And that level of play, I think, allowed us to beat Brick Memorial because, when I look at the run that we had, we won the championship at home against Lawrence, but I really think we won the championship at Brick Memorial that day in the semifinals. And, that 100 minutes that we played out there of soccer was a culmination of everything that we've gone through this season. And part of that is the competition we played to get there.
You brought up, you played, you had a bye in the Shore Conference tournament.
Yeah.
And a lot of people upset with the way the bracket was done. Especially your team example under 500 getting a bye, and teams Freehold Wall, and then you had Wall playing Middletown South, who were two of the best teams all season. What do you think can be done, or do you think they should go back to seeding? Well, first of all, are you a fan of the way they do the group, to get into the tournament?
I'm not. I'm not a fan of the. I'm not a
Play?
fan of the World Cup. No, I'm not.
No.
I'm not. I'm not anti-change,
Mhm.
but I think the short conference tournament is one of the preeminent tournaments in the state, and I don't think you need like a gimmick to kind of go along with it. I don't think it needs a hook to kind of go along with it. That's just my opinion. Uh, I liked it the way it was, in the fact that the top teams qualify based on your body of work as opposed to what you do in 3 or 4 pod games.
Mhm.
Uh, I can understand now maybe changing with the times and eliminating the 500 rule that used to be there based on the fact that each division changes every year. And if you're in A North, is it really fair that you finish under 500 when all the teams you're playing are the top teams
Mhm.
in the shore? Should you qualify? Yeah, like there should be some exemptions for things like that. And I'm definitely pro seating committee, because like I said, you've been here a long time, seen a lot of things. I've never seen a seating committee come back and say it's in the best interest of the 1 and 2 teams in the shore to play each other in the round of 32. So I don't know. To me, I'd always lean towards the seating committee than numbers on the paper.
And you brought up how tough the short conference is to begin with. Mike said it best after the Point Borough won the group. He said it just shows you it's harder to win the short conference tournament and than some groups and you see
Yeah,
the same thing with basketball. Manasquan, who's in group two, their hardest game in the whole state tournament is usually the sectional final, and then usually the semifinal is a little bit easier, and their group finals is the easiest game they have
yeah.
in the state tournament. So it just shows you how talented the short conference is and how good the competition is.
No, it's outstanding.
One more player you brought up, your freshman Zia Gold. Just to tell the impact she had, the season. She didn't make the all freshman. She got an honorable mention. She was probably my next player if I had one more spot. If I was able to put my freshman year separate, she would have been in. But just talk about the impact as a freshman coming in.
Yeah, we'll agree to disagree on Zaya on that spot, but
Okay.
we can agree that Zaya is a special player. Really special talent. We saw her as an eighth grader, and it's rare when I watch eighth graders play and think to myself, well, this girl could probably start for us on varsity in eighth grade, and she probably could. And she stepped in this year into a really high pressure situation where, like I said, all the players around her, except for really Julia Fantis and Faith Maroney, were also, you know, younger. So she was kind of like called upon from the beginning to kind of like be a leader on that team, be a focal point, drive the engine for us in the midfield. And it was tough in the beginning for her. Some of the games, like I said, the schedule was tough, and her finding navigating her way in the midfield, was difficult. And I think after the North game, we sat her down and we're like, Zaya, because sometimes we'd pull her out in some of these games, give her a break, whatever, like Zaya, or move her to another spot. We're like, Zaya, we're just going to leave you in the midfield and we're just going to roll with you. You don't have to worry about making a mistake. If you make a mistake, you're not coming out of the game. And we did, and she was a focal point for us for 80 minutes a match for all the matches that followed. She plays super tough. She's got great soccer IQ. And I think she's like one of the players. She's just scratching the surface of what she can do because she can put the ball in the net. And I think you saw that in that Lawrence game. You know, the header that she scored in that Lawrence game. When I watched that highlight, it still gives me chills. Like that was an amazing goal that she scored in that match. And she's just a super talented player. And I think, she's going to be someone that's going to have a really bright future.
How big you think it? Because freshmen they usually come in there nervous already to begin with, but giving them the confidence, hey, you're our player. Even if you make a mistake out there, we're not going to pull you. Do you think that relaxes them and lets them get more into their game?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you have someone that believes in you, it relaxes you. But I think Zaya has her own internal confidence. I think she carries herself very confidently. And her older sister, Zoe, this is her group as well. So I think she's been around these players her whole life. So it's not like she's interacting with, people she's never met before she walked in the door as a freshman. So I think that helped make her more comfortable as well.
I had the Kirshner sisters on yesterday, and Katie said how having her sister, when she was a freshman last year, sister, right, growing up with her friends, she wasn't as nervous going in there as a freshman. So that that is big that she had
Yeah.
her sister.
that definitely helps, and they're each other's biggest fan. So Zoe was one of those players who was limited this season with injury. She either missed games or was on a minute restriction, but she was a leader both on and off the field. And off the field, she was her sister's biggest cheerleader. Encouraging her, helping her, coaching her from the sidelines. And then Zoe really, something that doesn't get written about, but Zoe is really the reason we got to the sectional finals. She was a big part of it. We finally realized that we couldn't play her in the beginning because once we took her out of the match, we couldn't put her back in. So we would hold her off to the second half. And in both first and second round games against Ewing and RBR, she changed the momentum of those games in the second half, especially the RBR game. We don't get to Brick Memorial without beating RBR. And we don't get to Brick Memorial without Zoe, what she did for us in that second half.
Yeah. Last thing before, how, seeing your players, succeed, Chelsea graduated last year, just was named regional player of the year as a freshman. How good does it make you, see kids that go through the program having success at the next level?
You love it. Chelsea loves soccer, and you're just so happy for her, that she's able to go out there and get these accomplishments. I only had the privilege of coaching Chelsea for, I would say, half a season, between her injury that she was recovering from and the state rule at that time, which pretty much unfairly targeted seniors who transferred. So
Yeah.
she fell victim to that. And, even though she didn't have a normal off season, which I think kind of affected her senior year, for us, she still went out there, was very productive. But I knew if she just had a normal year just to go out and recover, have a normal preseason, at Georgian Court, that she was going to be special because you could just see the talent that she has. And, we're just also proud of her for what she's accomplished this season.
Yeah, I got to go to a couple Georgia and court games. I was at the one game. She had like 3 goals in the first like 25 minutes. She had a hat trick. She was just so it's just good seeing, first recovering from 2 ACLs and her having, such a good time out there. So,
Yeah.
Coach, I appreciate you taking time out tonight to talk to me about the season. It was a great season, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you do for soccer.
No problem. Everyone, thank you for joining me tonight. All short teams should be out early next week, and congratulations to everybody on a great season.